Family, I have Arthur Milton Porter the third here with me today. And he is here to really open up our minds about DE&I and children in business. I'm going to give a quick note though, because I do not have the privilege of hosting one of my past instructors. And Arthur was a business coach of mine, like, oh gosh, 10, 15 years ago. A
Yeah,
long time
you're telling your age now.
and so he was smart back then, and he's still super smart now. Welcome, family, wherever you are. Welcome, Jamaica. I've noticed that our audience in Jamaica has really picked up, and also across the pond. So welcome. We are enjoying you. Arthur, why don't you tell the Epic Understanding family a little bit about yourself?
Well,
Well,
I'm sorry, but I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've been over 30 plus years in this. And one of the things I've been blessed to be able to do was to work with other entrepreneurs in starting businesses and from all different ages to all different areas. I've also been very active in the DEI community because I've actually have contracts, right, to help corporations find minority women, veteran firms to do business on their projects. So I have a lot of experience in not only finding those firms, but helping them to build the type of relationships that allow them to grow. So that's
Mhm.
the area, that's the space I like to operate in.
That's awesome. You know what I really like about your business? I love the fact that you don't just, it's not like a one and done, and you are not just helping small businesses get projects one time. You
Mhm.
actually help them grow for the long term.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, especially in the diversity and equity space, that often people think that if you get a number, you get somebody on the list, you'd be
Uh-huh.
amazed how many companies, and you probably run across those companies, that they think that their success is they have a list of minority firms that they know.
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
that's not enough because you want to actually do business with those firms. And what I try to teach my firms, as well as the corporate clients, that the way that this really works best for both people,
Uh-huh.
is a relationship that grows beyond when it's required. It becomes something that just becomes natural. So I'm not using your firm because someone asked me to use a minority firm. I'm using your firm because we've developed a relationship that now allows us to work well together. For the minority firm, their capacity grows because now they're on bigger projects. For
Hmm.
the corporation or the corporate client, now when they go to bid on a bigger project, they can say, "Hey, these are the minority firms that we already work with, we already have a relationship with. That we're not trying to go out and find something that to fix your number. This is something we do naturally, and that's something that's been a winning story for them as well. So it's really a win-win for both parties."
So that's really a part of making it last. Let me ask you, what do the larger firms get out of working with A, small businesses, and B, minority-owned companies?
Well, what I find is that go across, because again, especially in a situation like this with COVID, there's a
Hmm.
lot of push now in the communities to keep money local.
Okay.
And so, so when you look at diversity, the real strength of the economy are the small businesses. And so, if a corporation or a company comes in and says, "Hey, we're going to utilize some of the companies here that are underutilized. We're going to work with the minority women and veteran-owned firms, local firms," then all of a sudden it only helps them to impact the community that they're in, but it also raises
Mhm.
their corporate standing as well because now they're seen as a corporation that is really working with the community that they're part of.
That's fantastic. And so when you say it raises their corporate standing, what kind of benefits are offered when you have that kind of reputation?
Well, for example, one of my clients who's a large contractor, if he's going to hire, let's say, an electrician that
Hmm.
already has in their culture diversity, that's something that I'm going to have to try to force them to do. So if you're an electrical company that comes to the table and says, "Hey, these are the minority women and veteran firms I already use and have a great relationship with," that's much better than someone coming and saying, "I don't know anybody, I've used nobody, and I'm
Okay.
going to fight you tooth and nail to not," because often those bigger projects, they may have government money, they may have tax incentives tied to them that require diversity, and
Mm-hmm.
where that electrician doesn't hurt if the project doesn't make it, the owner does. And so now the owners are saying, find me a companies that are willing to work in this environment and bring something to the table to this environment. I've
That's
actually just a quick example. I had a company in a rural area that had no connection with the minority firm. We
mm-hmm.
built that connection, and uh, the company that took on the minority firm was now able to go and apply for projects that they never would have, because they were coming to the table with, hey, this is my diversity partners and this is how we do it, and it's a smooth transition.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So what qualifies as a diversity partner?
well, again, that's something that, in my terms, the way we do it, has to be somebody that's fully engaged in the well-being of their part of a true partner.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, you're not really a partner if you're not leveraging all of your resources. So if you've engaged a minority firm, then they should benefit from the fact that you have all these great relationships with suppliers, your banking relationships, your ability to be bonded, the knowledge sets that you have. So you should be willing to transfer knowledge with them as well. And it should go beyond projects. So it should be something that, hey, if we have a project or not, we are a resource for you. And most of the clients that I've been able to work with have realized that that's the best way to really tackle this, is not looking at a project by project basis, but just in this community, these are the relationships that we have. And when projects come up, it's exactly to work together.
That is fantastic. We are here with Arthur Milton Porter the third. He has a wealth of knowledge, 30 years.
I'm gonna say 35 now.
Okay, yeah, 35
35.
years of diversity, equity, and inclusion experience. So please do shoot in your questions, no matter what you're logged in on, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, no matter where you're logged in from. Let us know your questions, and we'll do our very best
Okay.
to get them answered. So, what is included in diversity, equity, and inclusion? So, what I mean is a firm a woman-owned firm? Is it someone who is minority? And what break down what that really means, because some people know, like I know, but I want our audience to
Okay.
really have a full understanding.
Well, a lot of it depends on the market as well. So, for example, when I'm on the East Coast, there's a bigger push toward veterans. There's a
Okay.
lot of veterans, so it really reflects on the community. And so you got your minority, you have your
Hmm.
women, your veterans, a lot of people are now including small businesses. So
Hmm.
you could be a small business. Again, diversity is really just is more than race, it's more than gender. So it could be the fact that we're diverse because we have new companies. We're diverse because we have companies that are local. We're diverse because we have companies that are green or companies. So when you look at putting together a total diverse package, and that's another thing we often try to teach our clients, is you can design diversity into your project. You don't have to make it something you have to force to get. You can design where, you want to have diversity. There's some
Hmm.
steps you can do prior to a project to make sure that you get the diversity that you want. And so a lot of it is just really the corporation being intentional about what they want, and aligning with the groups that can make it happen.
I'm so happy that you said that, because um, somehow there is an idea that diversity only means the color of your skin.
Right. And let me tell you, and that's something that we tackle because we ask our diverse firms to be diverse. So if
Okay.
you are a minority owned firm, I'm going to ask you, do you have any women? I'm going
Okay.
to ask you, do you have any people that are not minority? Because again, you look at diversity, I always tell people it swings both ways. It's not people looking at how I can be, more like this minority firm. It's also the minority firm saying, how can we be diverse? How can we now? Because again, that's where a lot of the growth comes in. Because now you're able to show that you're growing and you're being more of a diverse company as well. And
Okay.
also,
And
diversity brings there's so many advantages to diversity. Just
there
the
really is.
different backgrounds, the different thought patterns. So if I have a company where everybody's just like me, there's
Hmm.
going to be only my thought pattern. But if I have a company that has people from different economic situations, I have females, I have different nationalities. I'm going to get the benefit of having all those different, thought patterns, all those different ideas that I can work from, as opposed to just having, one monolithic look.
I love that. One of my surprising great matches is
Mhm.
the fact that you can have someone who's artistic work with a company, a tech firm. They work really well together
Mhm.
because, tech firms are sometimes, they have very targeted outcomes. And a person who's artistic really is highly skilled in
Right.
focusing on that area. So what someone might see that as a handicap or something of that nature, what it really is the exact skill needed
Mhm.
for that particular task.
That's right. And that's where, again, companies, I think originally a lot of people looked at diversity as something where a company was almost taking a hit to be involved. But
Hmm.
real smart, savvy CEOs are realizing that this is not a way to lose business, but it's a way to get more business. Because one of my clients is business all across the country, and companies that bring diversity, they take them all across the country with them because they know that it's a like mind. But if you have
That,
again, if you ever been on a project where you're fighting for diversity, those
uh-huh.
are companies you probably won't have back.
Wow. Wow. That's very thoughtful. Now, I want to talk about one of your passion projects, and certainly one of mine. You love children in business, and so do I.
Yes. Well, I was blessed. I'm looking about, my sister Sandra. She
Yeah.
started a program out at WashU years ago, the Minority Youth Entrepreneurship Program, and just to, it really helped us to see the impact you can make on a kid when you introduce entrepreneurship to them.
Hmm.
Often when you think of entrepreneurship, you think of the business aspect, if you're going to start a business. But really, entrepreneurship in its purest form is just taking ownership. And when you take ownership, you teach a kid to take ownership over everything, ownership over the grades, ownership over the choices that they make. So although they may have a business, what they're really learning is that they have ownership. They have control. My sister teaches the kids that, I would go out and I would recruit for the program, and be kids, I want to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be an engineer. And you'd ask them, what school are you going to go to? What classes do you take? And they would have no idea because they've taken
Mm.
no ownership in that dream. But once they take ownership in the dream, you say, okay, well, look, if you want to be a doctor, these are the science programs you could be getting in right now. So that when you do get out, you can have all this experience in this particular area. These are the colleges that do this particular type of training for doctors. These are the courses you need to be taking. So as an entrepreneurial kid, once you make a declaration of what you want to be, then you take ownership of not waiting to hope the school puts you in that class, or that you go out and you start getting yourself in those programs. You start positioning yourself to have the relationships with people already in that field to help you. So again, teaching them entrepreneurship really teaches them to take ownership over their whole lives. That.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In my mind, I almost see entrepreneurship as a student activity,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. You might have a kid that's in football, you have a kid that wants to dance. Create an idea in your child's mind that entrepreneurship, it is a actual activity that they do as a part of their life.
Right. Because even a lot of universities, I've been asked to speak at universities about, you get that degree, you're
Uh-huh.
not necessarily guaranteed a job, but you do now have a skill set that's marketable. You need to be prepared that you may have to start your own business. You may
Mhm.
have to, if you got a degree in marketing, you can try to get on the corporate marketing team, or you can decide to open up your own marketing firm. And I think the colleges have realized that, hey, if they can arm their students to come out with that knowledge set of how to take ownership, start a business, run a business, it makes them just that more valuable. And I'll even say that companies that hire people that have an entrepreneur mindset do a lot better, because now that employee takes ownership of this department. I'm going to make this department a profit center that although that I'm helping to grow and build, because as an entrepreneur, I'm looking at through that mindset as opposed to an employee who's just looking at what I'm supposed to be doing. So I think that even employers are realizing the value of having entrepreneurial people in their organization.
And I'm curious, what kind of skills do you think it ultimately develops in a child entrepreneur?
I think this what's really developed is the ability to grow relationships. Because as an entrepreneur, they're going to be developing relationships with suppliers, if wherever they're trying to
Mhm.
do, developing relationships with their customers, developing relationships with whatever channel that they're having to get it out. You know, I had we had a student years ago that was doing cookies, and she had to actually set up a network where she was going to beauty shops and
Okay.
dropping people about. And so she had to develop relationships with each one of those beauty shops to set up the opportunity to do it there, and to make sure that they also had was beneficial for the beauty shop as well. So it's like again, just learning that whole idea of how to build and run an organization is something that is invaluable.
I couldn't agree more. I have this brand new saying that, and I'll keep saying it, but it is Black kids are business owners.
Oh yeah,
Black
definitely.
kids are business owners, and certainly more than Black kids are business owners. But I think that is really in the Black culture that you start businesses at a very young age, whether you're
Mhm.
washing cars, mowing lawns, doing hair. That is really part of the Black culture. That is not a part of our natural stereotype.
Right. Matter of fact, if you look at some of our, you know, there are obviously benefits to civil rights and the end of segregation. But if you look back to the businesses where we had in our own community, everything was self sufficient. I
Hmm.
think that what we lost is, and a lot of other a lot of other nationalities have that same thing. But we, I think, made the mistake of saying, okay, since I can now shop over there, I'll stop
Yeah.
shopping here. If
Hmm.
we had just kept our same businesses, our same banks, our same institutions we had, and maybe still interacted with the others as well, we've been fine. But I think when we abandoned our own to go to others, it kind of stopped that. But naturally, we had to be entrepreneurs in the
Hmm.
beginning. I think we're getting back to that point now where people begin to realize. I tell people all the time, if you have a corporate job, you still need to be figuring out what your business is, because you're always going to have that. The worst thing you can do is lose a job and start a business.
Hmm.
Have a business all the time, you know, and multiple streams of income, because we are finding
Absolutely.
out, you know, with recessions, with layoffs, with COVID, you can lose your job at any time. But a business that you've started, that's on you.
Absolutely. But I really do think it's just part of the culture. I mean, think back to your childhood. How many people, there was somebody who did hair, there there was somebody who mowed lawns. Um, I remember there was also a woman who, did insurance out of her house as well. I remember someone sold food. You know,
Right.
you had your Friday fish fries, and then you had Sunday dinner delivery. All of those things are absolutely just kind of ingrained into the Black culture. There's
Right.
always you know what we call it? A side hustle.
Side hustle. Or your side gig. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, your side gig.
Right.
There was
Hmm.
how about this one? I remember way before Uber, that was the guy that you called to pick you up and take you places.
Right.
Okay?
Oh yeah.
He
Take you
did
to the grocery store, help you with your groceries. Yeah.
exactly. These people, these business owners, they didn't necessarily do it in a particularly big way, but the community knew what services they were providing. And so
Mhm.
it's really a part of our culture.
Oh yes, and I think it's a part that we really need to embrace and pass. Make sure that our children take full advantage of as well. And the earlier, the better. That's why I'm so excited when I see young entrepreneurs that are really doing it. Because one of the things I think happens as we get older is we really lose our ability to dream, and we've
Hmm.
been beat up so much by the world that we end up being our worst enemies with self doubt, self limiting beliefs. But a young child, they dream. And when you tell them they can do something, they'll go do it. But if I tell an adult, oh well, that's not gonna work. Oh, they're gonna stop you from that. But again, if we you need to really capture the vision and the energy that these young people have and the ability to dream and really let them see. Because once they learn it, you can't stop them. When you see a kid that starts a business, you can guarantee the rest of their life They're going to
Mhm.
always know how to do it. I tell people, if you go graduate, you want to get that corporate experience, that's fine, but always be thinking about how you can do it yourself. When I graduated, I was a pharmaceutical sales rep,
Okay.
and I was like, I mean, I was getting a nice salary, a company car, expense account. I said, man, if they're giving me all this money, how much must they be making?
Oh my
And what if
goodness.
I could eliminate them and just go directly to the people and say, and that's what, and again, that's what the mindset you start having as an entrepreneur. How can I do this myself? The stuff that as an employee, you're helping someone else reach their goals, reach their dreams. How can you take that same energy and divert and put it towards your dreams and your goals?
That's awesome. I'm here with Arthur Milton Porter III on Epic Understanding, and we are talking about diversity and equity and inclusion, and of course, kids in business. So, Arthur, how young is too young to start your business?
Well, I would, I'm a greedy capitalist, so I say the younger the better. Because if you take the younger and cuter they are, the easier it is to get people to buy from. And so I'll say often, if I went to those same beauty shops with cookies, they've been like, get out of here, no way. But because it was a cute little girl with her basket, so I think that it's never too early. And even if they don't have their own business, I involve my children in my businesses from birth. So when
That's
I used when
excellent.
I used to travel and speak, they'd be right there seeing, because often it's just them seeing you do it. They would
Okay.
see. It got to the point where I finally had my son to the point that he would introduce me when I speak. So he was already now walking in that flow, and so he already sees that, he knows how to do that. And so now if you ever meet him, he's great. He can talk and everything, but he's seeing that. So you want to, at a very early age, get them involved. If it's nothing but they're sitting in the car watching you deliver the pies baked all night, and I always would pay them, because now they begin to see, okay, this is a way that my mother or father is generating revenue for them, and it's also a way I can generate some revenue for myself. And so again, when we used to go speak, and I would be selling books in the back, and my daughters would be working the table, and they would be getting paid off of the books, because again, they saw this as a vehicle of the family to make money. And now a lot of matter of fact, my one daughter in Atlanta, she just called me today about starting a business. My middle daughter sells beads, the kind of beads, those little that they wear around their waist and their ankles and
Uh-huh.
stuff. She's got this bead company she's doing, and I know it's because they've been brought up seeing me with these side hustles and how to make money, and this is something they just constantly think about.
So, what if someone just knows nothing about business and they have a product? How do people find good manufacturers for their product?
Well, I tell people you crawl before you walk. So before if you want to keep it as simple as possible. So if it's something you can do yourself, obviously fine. But then when you start to look at manufacturing, and which is one where a lot of minorities don't get in. But if you look at manufacturing or prototypes, you may have to often look beyond the borders. I know a lot of people that have because it may be cheaper to get your book printed in China than it is here. So again,
Mhm.
that's where the beauty of technology comes in place. You can go online, you can find all these things. I do warn people that you could also get ripped off sending your money overseas. But if you find a reputable company, talk to people that have dealt with that company before, personally talk to them, and then be open that you may have to reach outside your borders to get some of the stuff done.
Okay, so would you recommend using companies like Fiverr and things of
Oh
that
yeah.
nature?
Yeah, let me tell you, not only use them, but get on them yourself. So if you don't have,
Ah,
if you are, that's another easy good side gig. If you are good at writing proposals, put yourself on Fiverr. If you're not good, if you so you're on Fiverr writing proposals, you get somebody from Fiverr to help you with your website. And let me tell you that the biggest mistake you can make, because I made it for years, is trying to be your own web developer. It takes me. I would spend months trying to create a website that I could have paid somebody $150 to develop off of Fiverr. So again, just realize what your strength is, and use focus on that, and just be willing to pay the little it's going to be to get other people that work in that area to do it for you. And Fiverr is a great option. to find those people. And there's also a great option for you to say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna be on there and I can make some extra money as well.
That sounds awesome. Tell me this. When you have a kid that is starting their own business, how does that work with their taxes and things of that nature?
Well, it depends on how much money they make.
Mm-hmm.
And but again, I tell people from the you want to start with the end in mind. So I
Okay.
don't want to start trying to make just enough to not be taxed. So if you're going to start a business and again, if it's just you selling pies at the church, I don't have to worry about that. But when you start to see your business start to really take flight, you want
Mm-hmm.
to go ahead and set it up with legally with the right formation. You want to get an accountant to help you set it up so that you're paying your taxes on that. And again, that's something learned at a very early age because you'll see a lot of businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs get into trouble with taxes down the road. Whereas if you know from the very beginning that, hey, you know what, this is the process I have to go through as I make this money, I have to make sure that it's taxed right and all that, then that's the sooner the better.
And what do you think is a good business for a child entrepreneur to get into?
Well, it's really what they're passionate about.
Okay.
And I think, we kind of talked about this earlier. If you are a basketball player that's passionate about basketball, you've been playing your whole life, and now you're a teenager and you're playing varsity basketball, you could easily run a summer camp with little kids just starting basketball, a dribbling camp. So again, that's something you naturally know how to do, that you're passionate about. You can start that. If you like to bake and you've been baking with your
Uh-huh.
mother for years, then you can start that company. Whatever it is that you're passionate about. If you like pets, then you can do a pet walking business, a pet grooming,
Wow.
whatever you're not a grooming, but whatever you're passionate about. If you like fashion,
Uh-huh.
I'm amazed at how people can just do these T-shirt companies where if you're graphically talented, come up with a great logo, great design, and do sell your fashion. So whatever you're passionate about, whatever the child is naturally inclined to do, have them do that. Because if you put them in something they don't like or they're not passionate about, they're
Hmm.
not going to want to do it. It's going to be more like a job as opposed to being a business. So,
And so when they're a child, it's a really good time for them to just chase their talents,
oh yeah,
check what they're already good at. That's
Mhm.
awesome. That's very good advice.
And that's where as a parent you have to allow your children to go through all the different you know reiterations of themselves. My son, when he used to love monster trucks. He's
Okay.
going to be a monster truck driver. So as opposed to me squashing that, I we go to every monster truck show. I buy every monster truck, and he naturally grew out of that. Then he got into wrestling. He's going to be a wrestler. Fine. I didn't crush that. That's the one thing to do. We have to stop crushing our children. Just let them dream. So I would go get him every wrestling. We go to every wrestling event. He grew out of that. Then he got
Okay.
into football. And so again, so whatever they're, I always say, if they like it, I love it. So if
All
they want
right.
to do what they do, But when you try to direct them to a certain way, you often are taking their ability to dream away from them. Because now, although they may, I've run into attorneys
Uh-huh.
that told me I really wanted to have a cooking business, but
Oh,
but they
wow.
wanted me, and but then now they're doing it.
Okay.
But I knew that they wanted me to be an attorney, so I went to school for that. But I've really had this passion all my life to cook, and it's like, well, fine. Well, now that you have this money from being an attorney, now let's delve into this catering business you've been wanting to do all along. But again, don't crush whatever dream it is because some of it they'll naturally grow out of. But again, a lot of it can end up being a viable business as well.
Well, that's awesome. It always goes so fast here. And I'm so thankful to have you on. Just give our audience one book to read, one resource and for
Um,
them to go
I
to.
would, and I can't think of the author's name off the top of my head, but the E Myth Revisited is a book that really revolutionized my entrepreneurship because the E Myth Revisited basically talks about how when you start your business, you need to start it off as a system. We
Yes.
when we start businesses, start them off very personal. So I have a daycare, or a real good example are beauticians, because most women go, and I can talk. Most women go to beauticians because they like that particular beautician,
Uh-huh.
and that beautician ends up being tied to that chair
Yeah.
because they're only coming because of her. Well, a beautician that reads the E Myth will find out how she can duplicate herself And so now, if you go to that shop, whoever does your hair is fine because they do a system. You don't go to McDonald's and say, who's cooking the fries today? Because they're going to be the same because it's a system. And so they teach you in the E-Myth Revisited how to set your business up as a series of systems that when you can delegate and train other people to do the exact same thing you do, which allows you to work on the business as opposed to working in the business because you've replaced yourself. So that book is very good at helping you to really be able to step back and grow your business because you're not the one that had, nobody cooks the cake like me. Well, then you're going to be cooking it for the rest of this business. But if you can teach other people how to cook that cake like you,
Mm-hmm.
then now
Mm-hmm.
you can go out and get bigger contracts all across the country because the cake is going to be the same no matter what.
That is extremely valuable advice and certainly worth staying for. Thank you so much, Epic Understanding family, and thank you, Arthur Milton Porter the third,
Thank you.
for hanging out with us.
No problem.
Bye bye for now.
Bye bye.